nice skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Let the healing begin. It is Craig Kilborn. This is the Life Gorgeous podcast where I share my magical life in hopes of improving yours. I'm in the birthday month. I'm recording different podcasts. I think this is going to air maybe next week. We're recording it on, what is it today? Well, August 7th, Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. Alec Sulkin, my old friend, we worked together at the Late Late Show at CBS, and let me just turn my light on here for my notes here. Look at that. There we go.
Oh,
I have a funny joke. I just like doing this. Family Guy, you are the head writer and executive producer of Family Guy, and you also are the sidekick to Goldie. The sidekick to Goldie. In the podcast, a typical disgusting display. It's kind of, what's it like being the Ed McMahon to Julia Sharp? I'm sorry.
It's so funny that you came out of the gates with this, because I was going to come at you with something along the same lines. First of all, I acknowledge Goldie is an hysterical human, as we know.
Yes.
And I love being there with him on that podcast and watching him riff, laughing my ass off. So I get it. So I'm like McMahon in that way. But I was going to come to you and say that I was feeling a little bit left out because, like most comedy writers, I keep quiet score. Right. And I saw that Goldie had his fourth appearance.
Oh.
And I'm waiting. And this is now a few months. And I was thinking of you. Of course, you know you have a sports background, so
yes,
you remember the name Wally Pipp.
Yeah,
Wally Pipp was on the Yankees, and he was a guy. He actually discovered Lou Gehrig playing in college. He told the Yankees, "Hey, you should look into this guy." So sure enough, the Yankees get Gehrig. Wally Pipp gets injured for one game. Gehrig comes in, and then that's the story. You know, Wally Pipp is sort of forgotten to history. Lou Gehrig is the Iron Horse. Everybody loves him. Yeah. First of all, I hope John Goldblatt does not die of John Goldblatt's disease, because that would be I don't wish that upon him. I'm not saying that, but people forget that Wally Pipp went on to create Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Boom. Hey, Drew Bledsoe is a good quarterback. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying?
He had a cannon.
Kirk Cousins is going to be replaced by Michael Penix. So there's so many things going on. No, but you, for the viewers and the listeners, Alec Sulkin left the CBS Late Late Show for greener pastures, and he recommended Goldie. I get the credit for hiring him.
Yes.
And toning down his stand-up. I'm kidding. Sorry.
Just
tone it down a little bit. There's no you're not Sam Kinison. There's no screaming. But no, you guys are great, and Goldie has a motor. I think it's safe to say he has a motor. And one of the things he likes to say about you as a comedy writer, which is true, he raves about you. Basically, the first thing Alec Sulkin says as he's pitching a joke is the best that he'll come up with.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Goldie will grind it out a little bit.
Yeah. Goldie has that chip on his shoulder. You know, he does. Like you want to talk about Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe. He has that Brady chip on his shoulder. He feels like for his 20s, he was overlooked. And then when he got out to Hollywood, he really wanted to prove himself, and he still feels that way. And he does, as you know, he proves himself every day.
And you and I are similar where we kind of coast through life.
Absolutely. Except you got to coast off your looks. I don't know what I'm coasting off of.
Well, you're brilliant. The writing is brilliant. For the viewers and listeners, I forgot I hid the lead here, but Ted, that's where you made your money on Ted, the profane movie with the teddy bear. Lot of F-bombs.
Oh, so many. So many. You know what? That's the way people talk in Boston.
Yeah. So I have so many things to talk to you, but first of all, are you in Summerlin or are you on the East Coast?
I'm on Cape Cod on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Alec Sulkin is from the Boston area, and he has a home on the East Coast, and he also has a new home in Summerlin. How is Summerlin going, by the way? Because I don't know it very well. I drive by it as I take the 101. I know it's in a beautiful area. How is it going?
I really like it. It feels like a very small town. It's in they call it Summercedo because I think they want a piece of Montecito, in our identity. So it's Summerlin, Montecito, Santa Barbara in a row there. And, all those communities are very nice, affluent. Summerlin is sort of looked at as the up and coming, town.
And again, I guess I care too much about the listeners and viewers. Montecito, which is right next to Santa Barbara, is where Oprah lives.
Yeah.
And the other people, the Rob Lowe's of the world,
Ellen.
About an hour 40 from LA, I think.
No traffic. It's an hour 15. Regular traffic, you're right. About an hour 40.
So I just have to quickly ask you, I know Carpinteria a little bit because I've stayed there in the Eurovan. And there's a restaurant there called Gianfranco, which is a very nice Italian owned by an older couple. And it's charming because he'll seat us and then she'll take the order. This is very true. And then she'll come back and say, I'm sorry, what did you say again? I said, I have the fish and the thing. It's just charming. I'm not in a rush, But how close are you to Carpinteria, and have you eaten there?
I have not eaten there. We are very close to Carpinteria. It basically goes Carpinteria, Summerlin, Montecito, Santa Barbara. So we've been to Carpinteria for a few things. We went to an art opening there. Yeah, we're doing that kind of stuff. But we have not investigated the restaurants there. But I love that recommendation because we're actually finding the area a little bit restaurant light. So I would love to find a good place there. Yeah.
So there are a bunch of places there it's on this little street that goes right to the beach. Carpinteria. It's it's on the water there. It's a nice little enclave there. Yeah. But so I had this joke I wanted to do where so much happening in the world, and I want to laser in on a controversy that I've never understood. That controversy being Alec Sulkin doesn't like Mexican food. That was my wind up to it.
A lot going on in the world.
But I don't think, I just remember, so growing up in Minnesota, I don't remember Mexican restaurants. I'm sure there were some there, but I did like the Swanson TV dinner, the Mexican dinner with the enchiladas and the refried beans. When you're a kid and you discover refried beans, you get very excited. And then I moved to LA in the late 80s, and there were a plethora of Mexican restaurants. And I worked with Alec then in the early 2000s, and you'd have a burger and fries. You didn't seem to have much of an advanced palate.
No.
But you didn't like Mexican food. And then I have this theory, people who don't have an advanced palate can't really judge food. They're not allowed to. But what is is there a reason for not liking Mexican food?
Well, I think a lot of it was how I was raised. My mother is a very, sort of nervous Nelly Jewish mother, and she did not like Mexican food. And the foods that she does not like, she imprinted on her children. So we were sort of raised to believe like Mexican food just got kind of this, no thank you, the sort of head shake, no thank you. My mother hates green peppers, so now I hate green peppers. My mother does not, there's certain things that my mom hates that I just picked up along the way. I will say living in LA and eating at really good Mexican food restaurants, in particular in the last 10 years or so, I have found that there is definitely a lane for me in food restaurants. I go very simple, but what
is simple?
I mean, like a steak fajita, something like that. I want a steak and I don't want it over seasoned. There's the unsophisticated palate. So
do you like rice and beans?
I'm not against it, but I don't really like it. No, I kind of don't love beans in general.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had a burrito in your life?
I have. I've never had Taco Bell in my life.
Well, that's good. That's a
Yeah,
positive.
I know.
That's a positive.
I hear that from real food fans, but no, I have had a burrito, and I've enjoyed it. I like kind of. It's funny. I've never been to Taco Bell because I bet that would be the version of Mexican food that I would like best.
It's disgusting.
I know.
It's very disgusting.
I love McDonald's, so
No, it'd be funny as you kept saying you didn't like Mexican food, your mom didn't like Mexican food, and if I edited this and just took out the word food, that would be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know. In this climate, Craig.
I know, I'm kidding. I just so that's good. Yeah, the Mexican food thing. It's simple, but I like it. I like cheese a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't eat pizza unless it's gluten-free, and I love pizza. So I like enchiladas since I was a child. I like hard-shell tacos. I like chili rellenos, which is stuffed peppers that you wouldn't like.
I'm starting to see why you like that. You just like saying the names.
Relleno, chili relleno.
Enchiladas.
Enchiladas. Okay. Let's see if I have anything else before we get to the other stuff. Okay, so how do you compare the East Coast and West Coast? Do you see the magic of the West Coast, but you're going to end up on the East Coast most likely?
I think that's right. I have had a great career on the West Coast, which is thankfully, still going, but it won't for that much longer. And I just can feel it in my body, in my bones, when I'm back here on the East Coast, and in particular here on Cape Cod. I feel that what you do at the opening of every show is how my body feels.
Oh, the exhale.
Yep.
Oh, life is so good.
That's exactly right.
Hey, I forget that Agile Mind. Congrats on the Celtics winning another championship.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. And I hate that all these people are trying to discount the Minnesota Lakers championships to make it even farther apart. But, people are going to do what they want to do.
Name the center and what number he wore for the Minneapolis Lakers. Name the center. He was the first big man.
Yeah, George Mikan.
Correct. What was his number?
I'm going to get this wrong, but I want to say, I have two guesses. I want to say 15 or 19.
No, it was kind of a fun one. 99. Kind of fun.
Yeah, that is fun.
And there was a game at Madison Square Garden, the old Madison Square Garden, wherever it was on 34th, or maybe that's where the new one is. But it said tonight on the marquee, the New York Knicks versus George Mikan.
Yeah.
That's what it said once.
And I bet he won.
Probably.
Yeah, he was dominant. Oh, dominant. Early
Shaq. And all the big men have won. So let's go. Let's stay in Minnesota. Yesterday, as we air this a week later, they announced the Kamala Harris announced her VP pick. Craigers doesn't talk a lot of politics. I think people like that because I'm above the fray, but you know me as extremely level-headed. I'm going to run a few slogans by you in a bit. Okay. But your thoughts on Tim Walz? No, there's no T. It's not Waltz. It's just Walz. Walz. Okay. Walz.
Sure.
Your thoughts on Tim Walz? Have you learned anything about him?
I have learned, a lot about him. I've been learning more and more about him over the past few weeks as he's been a potential candidate for Kamala's running mate. And when he was picked, I learned a lot more about him, and everything I learn about him, I like. And my first thought was of you because of the Minnesota connection. And then when I knew I was coming on this podcast today, I was just so excited that we were going to get your official endorsement. So that I don't know that I slept that well because I was so excited that surely the governor of the Minnesota Timberwolves is going to have Craig's full support. Look at him dance. He's doing a waltz.
No, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with, there's no way it was going to be Josh Shapiro. I'm kidding.
No, believe me, I felt the same way. I was like, you can't have that 1-2 punch right now.
Yeah. Tim Walz is fine. I mean, some of my friends in Minnesota who are left of center say he's a little too progressive, but whatever. It's fine. He's a nice guy. He is likable. He's a good speaker. You also had the guy down in Arizona who was impressive. I think someone said you can't choose Shapiro. You don't want a bunch of distractions with the Gaza Strip war and everything, and you don't want to, with the Arizona guy, you don't want a bunch of immigration talk because that's not something to talk about.
Yeah.
But they're positive. The guy that I think is the most impressive is Mayor Pete.
Oh, the best. The best.
But maybe that's for another day.
Another decade.
Another decade. Yeah. But my joke is, and I can take this out, is he's nothing like Gary Janetti. No. Can I keep that in? It's fine, right?
I love that. I love that. And Gary would agree. No, every time Mayor Pete is on some talk show, whether it's a left show or a right show, I feel like, boy, this guy can speak. He really gets the point across very well, and he won't be bowled over too, which I like.
Yeah. Well, I've said, this is where I'm completely level-headed. For those listening, I'm an independent, and I say registered, and people go, what do you mean you registered? I go, well, that's how I get the mail-in ballot. I had to check a thing, independent, gliding above the political fray.
Yeah.
And I said when Obama became president years ago, I said, came on the scene, not became president. I said, oh, this guy's impressive. And I said, I guess the impressive conservatives go into business, not politics.
Yeah.
But there are a few sometimes. I thought Mitt Romney was impressive, although I don't relate to Mormonism. I'm not a religious person, but I don't relate to Mormonism. He would have done better if he was just a Baptist.
Sure.
But my slogan is compassion with pragmatism. Compassion with pragmatism. Your thoughts? Wait, are you laughing?
Yeah, that slogan is about 80% too smart. For what we need. It has to be balls.
I'm saying in general why I'm an independent, but I wanted to know, am I taking a shot at each side or am I complimenting each side?
Okay,
what am I doing?
That's the slogan for being an independent. Say it again.
Compassion with pragmatism.
I mean, I love the message, but you lose people at pragmatism. You just lose them there. They're gonna dismiss you as a liberal East Coast elite for talking like that. But I like the.
Well, I do go to the Carlisle. I do go. I used to go to the 21 Club.
Yeah, so. There you go. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea to come up with a good slogan for independence, though.
Yeah. Do you have, because I wanted to ask you, I remember years ago, I worked with some hardcore liberals who just, if you weren't on the train there, the political train there, you were evil. So if you're independent, you're evil. But I remember reading like Alec Baldwin, and he said, I have a bunch of friends that are conservative, and he has a podcast, and a couple of years ago, he had Bill Kristol on. I don't know if you know who William Kristol is. Do you know that
not Billy
conservative
Kristol.
Pundit? He has the Bulwark now, but he used to work for the National Review.
Okay.
But my question to you is, do you have friends that are independent and or conservative?
I do. It's funny that you bring this up because I was talking about this just the other day. I have you, who's an independent, and then I also have a few friends who are Republicans, including some in-laws. And I've noticed this thing about them, which kind of, it rankles me a little bit because I find them all to be wonderful people, like the Republicans that I know, and they're wonderful in ways that my Democrat friends are not. And
this is good. I can't wait to hear.
No,
I want to hear because
they have just like this kind of inner peace.
Bam!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And Democrats, we spend so much time whining and complaining and getting angry about things that nobody really cares about. I'm thinking of pronouns. They always jump to my mind. It's like certain people, yes, they care about that very much, but it is such a vocal minority that cares about that. And then we as a Democrat Party now, we have to get upset about this when people aren't using pronouns that don't make sense. And it's like, how did we get into this vortex? And we just get angry and nothing is quite ever good enough. And this person's too progressive. This person isn't progressive enough. And thank goodness the Democrats have been doing it this election cycle where everybody got behind Kamala right away.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting behind Walz right away. I think there's a feeling more that's overtaking this election, which I love. But in the past, traditionally, Republicans have been so much better at that. They just say like, okay, this is our guy. Everybody support. Everybody support.
Yeah. A little more organized.
Yeah.
Professional. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. You just said something which I was wondering if you were going to say it when you were talking about your in-laws who are Republican or conservative. That's something George Will wrote years ago, which is liberals are always complaining and conservatives are content and happy, and liberals are always complaining.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. The other thing is I take a 30,000 foot view and I look at it and I say, I see a big difference between moderate liberals and the far left.
Oh,
and
yes.
Some people use the word progressive, and I do get a kick out of when people on both sides criticize the side. Like there was this Republican named Adam Kinzinger.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's very level-headed, and he hates Trump, and he doesn't. He hopes the party one day recovers if it ever can.
Yeah.
But I really want to ask you. I didn't know if you saw what James Carville's been saying recently.
No,
he's been ripping the far left. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. It's interesting. I have a niece who is very far left. And she's now one of those people who every time I see her on Instagram, she's just railing against, the genocide in Gaza. And like, it's like it goes so far left that it comes back around in some way where it's like, oh, you've gone so far, you went around the world. And now you're weirdly right in the middle of the right, which is crazy.
Are you able to tell young people under 30 or so, hey, your views are going to change when you get older, or do they not want to hear that?
No, I've been trying because with the last couple of elections, and particularly the last one in 2020, I felt like I was so engaged in a way that was making me unhappy. I was constantly watching CNN, constantly, saying, did you see what Trump did today? Did you see what this person did today? And I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. And then when Biden won, I did have like a day of relief, like being like, oh, now we can get back to when politics was boring. But it just didn't happen because Trump didn't go away. He's still there antagonizing, and it keeps trying to draw me back in. But I had this feeling like people have so much more in common than the differences we have politically. And the issues that people get really upset about in politics really don't affect the daily lives. And listen, I understand I'm speaking as a man here. Like they don't affect my life or most of the men that I know. Like all these issues, like the border and this and, this other thing. And it's like, well, it doesn't, these things are not affecting our life. And yet we're making enemies because of them. We're getting angry with people we don't know because of them. And it's like we all like pizza. We all like sports. We all like puppies. Like, let's just kind of get back to that.
Pizza, puppies, and sports.
I love it.
It's a great way to live. So going back to that slogan, you want me to change, you want me to swap out pragmatism, compassion with
compassion with common sense.
Well, okay. Common sense. Okay. So you don't like the word pragmatic or not?
I love the word. I love the word. I'm saying you're going to lose a lot of people. It's a barrier to entry.
Okay, so I'm not making T-shirts or anything. I'm just thinking. I'm just doing it. I'll tell you and a couple other people. So 3 people. That's about
it. Then I love it. If it's just for me and like a couple other people who like totally get that word, then I love it.
Yeah, and I want the sidekick to approve, and I want the host Goldie to approve.
It's funny. Goldie said we were talking about that Republicans thing in the inner piece on the podcast the other day, and Goldie, in typical Goldie fashion, it was so funny. He was like, yeah, and like, why do Republicans just get things like lakes and jet skis and guns that are cool that Democrats just don't get? I love that he said Republicans just get lakes.
Hey, I'm switching to comedy because you are a comedy writer and a comedian, and you used to do stand-up.
Oh, yeah.
What were your thoughts on the Comedy Central roast?
Of Mr. Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your guy. Your hero. His hero, by the way, Tom Brady.
Absolutely my hero, and he was still my hero. I loved it. Full disclosure, I did not watch it all.
Okay.
It was on, I believe it was on a Sunday, and we had family stuff going on. So I was kind of watching it, and I knew I could go back. I can go back
Sure.
and watch it at any time. But I did see like the Nikki Glazer thing, which was fantastic. Just an
Yeah.
masterclass,
Yeah.
masterclass. And I saw, a few of the other comics. I didn't see Affleck. I heard that wasn't great. But I kind of loved the whole thing. I saw
Yeah.
I saw Belichick, obviously,
Yeah.
like he
Yeah.
was great. And Tom, listen, he wanted it and he got it. He had to sit there and take
Yeah.
really harsh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. I was surprised at that. So I've seen clips and stuff. I haven't seen it all the way through either. But my understanding is that Tom Brady, as he retires and expands his the different interests that he has, he's the guy behind the roasts, is my understanding. Like, they're going to do these roasts and he'll be a producer on it. And he said, I'll put myself up for the first one. Did you hear that?
I did not, but that does not surprise me at all because that's a very smart move. I mean,
Yeah.
if they did this for LeBron, like the audience would be a similar size,
Yeah.
and you can pick and choose. It could be for Ronaldo or Djokovic or whatever.
Right. I like that you know who the Joker is. That means a lot to me because you're not, I know, but it's just that I lost a lot of respect for you when you made fun of slow-mo, and I still...
former Minnesota Timberwolf,
Yeah.
what's his name? Anderson?
Kyle Anderson.
And where did he go?
He went to the Warriors.
That's right.
Yes.
I don't know that he's going to be the difference.
Well, he's not a great outside shooter, and then he got his eye injured a couple of years ago, and now his shooting has really fallen off. But he's actually a good defender. I've seen him strip John Morant. I've seen him strip Luka Doncic, and he's a great passer. Very smart, very cerebral. So I didn't think you would like him. He's a very cerebral player.
I was just shocked at how actually slow he was. Like,
I know. No, you'd see him drive down the lane, and then he'd be right at the basket, and he'd kick it out, and you go, well, he's afraid to shoot. It was fun to see a young person discover slow-mo.
Yeah. He's gone.
No, it's fine.
We hardly knew ye.
So do the F-bombs get old for you when you watch the roast, or you don't care about F-bombs? You're kind of...
It's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day as well. F-bombs have changed. F-bomb, the F-bomb of our youth does not exist anymore. Like that word is so much more accepted now. And I would never say it, and I don't want to, but there's another F-bomb that has taken its place fully. Like the bad F word is no longer the F word that of our.
You mean ending in OT?
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
correct. So that F word has totally taken away the power of the original F word.
Yeah. So I accept that I'm in the minority on a lot of things in life. I prefer black and white movies and Turner Classic, and what's that?
Not racially, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like the F-bomb, but everyone uses it freely, so whatever. But I'm a Puritan at heart in certain ways.
I like that about you, but I don't feel that way.
I know that.
Yeah,
I know that. I'm comfortable with people up at Big Sur being nude. Where young co-eds being nude. That's natural.
Very big.
The F-bomb throws me. What's that?
Very big, sir. Just hope that pole vaulter doesn't make his way up there.
Your comedy, I never understood this. You like when people fall down. Why is that?
I do.
Tell me.
I can't put my finger on it. I'm sure it is from born of deep-seated childhood trauma, where watching somebody else suffer sort of means that I myself am not suffering. But I'm proud to say that I still enjoy, on Instagram, they feed me what I like. They figured me out. So if I go on my Instagram reels, 1 out of every 4 is, some larger woman falling as a Transformers sound effect goes, when she's falling down. And I love it. I'm a sucker for it every time.
What would you do if you saw a person eating a taco and then they fell down?
Worlds collide. Dios mío.
How do you? Okay, I got more questions for you.
I love it.
How do you handle violence in movies? Do you turn away? Do you ever fast forward, or are you somewhat jaded where you can watch violence in movies?
That's interesting. I feel like that's constantly evolving. And I'll tell you, I just recently watched a movie. I don't know if you've heard of it, called Sisu. It's
No, I don't know.
I loved it. It's a movie about a Finnish soldier towards the end of World War II, and Finland for a time was fighting, I believe, with the Germans. But then towards the end of World War II, they said, like, yeah, we're not your ally anymore, and we want you out of our country. So what the Germans did is they basically like scorched earth. They like burned down a lot of Finland on their way out. So this guy Sisu is a guy who just is like the one badass warrior that the Nazis should not have messed with. And the whole movie is incredibly violent and totally kick ass. But it was ultra violent, and it didn't bother me at all. But in some movies, like if I'm watching Saving Private Ryan, and the scene where the German guy slowly stabs the Jewish guy, and like I can't watch that.
Right,
that's hard for me.
By the way, on the side note, I'm going to get back to the violence.
Yeah,
there's so many World War II movies, and I never really get tired of them. But I don't watch Vietnam movies.
Yeah, well, that's
kind of obvious.
Well, yeah, we took an L, so we don't want to watch that. We don't want to see that.
Wait, okay, so you mentioned the violence. So have you ever seen? It's one of my favorite movies that's been made in the last 10 or 15 years. But The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo with Daniel Craig. I've also seen the Swiss version, which is great. Or Swedish version,
right?
I fast forward through some of the violence there with the counselor guy and the woman.
Right.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of stuff you can watch or not watch?
I mean, I saw that movie once. I know you've brought this movie up a few times. I know how much you like it. I remember liking the movie, and I don't remember particularly being put off by any of the violence in there. But I fully support your way of watching. Like, if you have a movie you like, but there's one part that you don't like, yeah, just fast forward through it, and then you're sitting in the movie you do like.
Yeah. I mean, that happened with me with Marathon Man at the beginning with the teeth. I couldn't deal with it.
Oh, and I love that movie.
Yeah, so then I didn't watch it, and then I went back a couple years later and said, I'm going to watch it. I love Sir Laurence Olivier. I love Dustin Hoffman. Roy Scheider was great. Yeah. And it's pretty amazing. At the end of the movie, when he's walking on the sidewalk, the angel of death, I mean, was that intense or what?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, and they start recognizing him, and he's got the knife in his sleeve, and he's slitting throats and just casually on his way into the subway. That was great.
Have you ever seen The Boys from Brazil?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, that's a great one. That is a great one.
Another Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, World War II kicked off a lot of good art.
Yeah,
it did. It really did.
So quickly, Tarantino, because he has the violence, but sometimes it's cartoonish.
Yeah.
Where they shoot somebody and he goes flying up against the wall. Are you a Tarantino fan?
You know, I am, but here's the big but. Everybody, it was very polarizing in the mid-90s when Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump came out in the same year. And you were either a Forrest Gump guy or you were a Pulp Fiction guy. And that was like the politics that we have today. That's how angry people would get with each other. I am fully a Forrest Gump guy. I love Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is like the best buffet dinner you've ever eaten. I think it just has something for everyone. It's a 10-quadrant movie. I know that's not possible, but it's young, old, male, woman, black, white, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat. 10 quadrants. Like, everybody has something in that movie. And Pulp Fiction, I liked a lot, and I thought it was cool and different, but it didn't rise to the level of a Gump for me. That said, I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that's my favorite Tarantino film. But some of them, like, I watched Hateful Eight, because I love Westerns. That for me was a little bit too violent. When people start getting like their nuts shot off on screen, it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So this leads into my next topic of movies and television shows we haven't seen. But so I have an admiration for Tarantino, but I haven't seen all of his movies. And I think he says that his best is probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I love it.
And everybody I know likes that, including me. I like to say my favorite, that would probably be my second favorite, only because I like to say how much I like Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Really like the soundtrack. I really like the Pam Grier of it all. I love the guy, Robert Forster.
Yeah.
And everyone says, well, that's a different kind of Tarantino movie, which is probably why I like it.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. I like Jackie Brown too. I thought he had a good run there, where almost every movie he was making was like interesting or different or cool. And I love how much he clearly loves movies. Like I love that at the beginning of his movies, he does that retro like intro feature presentation stuff. I love that. So,
yes, he's obsessed. Yeah, I hear him talk about things. He has an issue with Hitchcock, which I disagree with him on because I love Hitchcock. But he does absolutely adore movies.
He does.
Like when he says he has issues with Hitchcock, he'll say, "I don't like Act 3, but I loved Act 3 in Strangers on a Train." Like,
right.
And he knows his stuff.
He really does. He really does. Yeah. No, I'm a fan of his, but he keeps saying like he's retiring and then he doesn't, which is fine. Keep making good movies, but don't do the weird, like, I'm done. Don't make me sing. Yeah,
what's interesting is I liked Peter Bogdanovich because I liked hearing him talk. He loved movies and stuff, but I only liked one of his movies.
Which one?
And there are the other two that were popular. I'd have to rewatch one of them. The other one doesn't do it for me. Do you know the Peter Bogdanovich films, or should I tell you what they are?
Well, Last Picture Show.
That's the one I like.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I personally, and this is because my mom showed it to me at an early age, and I'm a fan of Looney Tunes. I loved What's Up, Doc. Like I thought.
Yeah, that's the one. It's in San Francisco, and it's a little too goofy and zany.
Very goofy. Very goofy.
Yeah. So I didn't stay with it. I tried to rewatch it a few years ago, and then Paper Moon with Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal. I'd have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
See if it's any good.
Yeah,
you know
I'm embarrassed to admit I've never seen it. I know.
Well, that's my game I want to play.
Good. I love that game.
I think it's infuriating to people because I've freaked people out when I tell them I haven't seen something. It sounds like I'm standoffish, which I am, but I didn't like. I did finally watch Forrest Gump, just to let you know, maybe the last 10 years.
Oh.
But I don't like dim-witted characters.
Well, then you wouldn't like that.
Yeah. And it's like I like Cheers. I wish I don't like the joke. I like when Aaron Sorkin said he always likes the sound of intelligent arguing. He likes the sound of voices. And it's just great to hear that back.
I love you talk about Aaron Sorkin. I mean, obviously his writing is unbelievable, and boy, one of my favorite movies of this century is The Social Network. And he wrote that, and you talk about intelligent arguing, like that movie is just so full of it. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I do get a kick out of, I do sometimes rewatch the scene of You Can't Handle the Truth with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. And I
love that.
I'm glad. I like what he wrote where he says, your cocktail parties, you don't want to know the truth. I love the reality, the pragmatism. I'm kidding. And of reality. But, okay. So, I've never seen, let's just do dueling. Now I've prepared. So you're on the spot. So I'll give you more time, but
right.
I just want you to I'll name something I haven't seen and you can react, and then I'll react. Okay. So I've never finished Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Well, and is that because you watched it and were like, I'm out? Was there something in particular where it was like when the guy was molesting the other guy in the basement? Were you like,
I haven't gotten to that. Didn't get that far.
Okay, so you didn't get that far at all.
No, I think I got 20 minutes in. Yeah. I've done it a couple of times. If I really want to, it's like I haven't Reservoir Dogs. I haven't finished.
That's I feel like ending too.
Say again?
That's a very tough ending, Reservoir Dogs. One of the toughest endings. Like I often refer to like a fight that I've had in my real life as just like it was like the final scene of Reservoir Dogs. It was just a fucking mess. Excuse the
wow. One of my jokes you just said a fight. You mean a verbal fight?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been in a real fight.
Well, one of my jokes when I have you and Goldie on is, you guys ever get mad at each other? Goldie, has Alec ever slapped you? So before we get back to movies we haven't seen, I just wanted to say, don't you think it adds more significance when there's a death at the end?
Oh, like Chinatown.
Chinatown. But it bothers me, but it makes it more impactful, makes it, I guess, a better film.
I agree with that. I think movies that have a main character die at the end, they do leave you with a sense of profundity that isn't maybe there.
And sometimes you have to have it. Otherwise, like Gran Torino, he had cancer. He pretended he was going for his gun, and he got shot by all these gang members. And then, of course, they go to jail.
Yeah.
They go to prison. The way it should be.
Yeah. They're not sending their best across the border.
Now we know Alec, we had a technical issue. Now he gets to show off his pool table. He takes so much money from the old people out there at Cape Cod, gambling on the pool table.
Oh yeah, I'm real sharp.
Go ahead. What did I say? I said I didn't finish Pulp Fiction. You have one that you haven't seen, a movie you haven't seen that would shock people?
I don't know if it's shocking. There are some. It's funny. Like there are some as an 80s person that are shocking to people. Like I've never seen Weird Science, and I don't think I ever will. Like I somehow missed that, and
I never saw it either.
Yeah, I don't care. But people from the 80s are like, oh, you have to see that. I've never seen On the Waterfront.
Okay, I finally watched that. It's great. I just wanted to see why, Brando is Brando. There's something earthy. There's something natural about him. I also think the way he looks with his eyes and his cheeks and his mouth, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a lisp, does he? But there's something about his delivery that is very unique.
Yeah. I agree. Like, yes, every time I see Brando in something, I understand why people went nuts for him.
Yeah.
He's even up until the end when he was, didn't really look like he used to, like Island of Dr. Moreau or The Freshman or those things. He still shines.
Yes.
Even if you can just sit there and talk, you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's a good actor.
I'll as you're thinking, I'll name some more. I'll name some TV shows I've never seen. Friends.
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother. ER. Grey's Anatomy.
Okay. All right. Well, I have some thoughts on that. Clearly, the Friends ER thing, I think, was you were exploding onto the sports world in Bristol. You didn't have time for that.
Didn't have time. Yeah.
This is the early mid 90s. Like you couldn't do it. The thing that's interesting was I really enjoyed ER. I think that's a good show. It's available on Max now, by the way. As is Friends. Friends, I didn't love when it first came out because I was a big Seinfeld guy. And to me, it was like, as we were talking about earlier, Seinfeld was the smarter comedy and Friends was just, good-looking people interacting. But I will say I've gone back and watched Friends. Like I watched a couple of seasons, maybe a couple of years ago. And it was, I don't know if I've lowered my standards because of so much has come afterwards that's derivative and not really up to snuff. But there is something about Friends. Yes, they are all young and attractive, but there's something about the comedic timing. They had Jimmy Burrows there directing them, who's the godfather of sitcom directors. And the comedy is like, it's just sharp enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I have one that's going to drive you bonkers.
Okay.
Vertigo.
Oh. Have you ever tried to watch it? Or because you have to be in the right mindset. It does meander. It is.
I tried to watch it, and my takeaway, and I know you'll be with me on this as well. I love North by Northwest and Rear Window so much.
Right.
And to me, Vertigo, even in the bit that I saw, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to get there for me. It's just not going to get there. So when it comes to Hitchcock, love Rear Window, North by Northwest, and then Psycho.
Yeah, Psycho's really good. Yeah.
And Vertigo, I just couldn't get into.
You got to be in the right mood. And I remember, because I love San Francisco so much, it's like I said to my brother once about Vertigo, because he fluctuates. It can sometimes just be a little too long and meandering. But I said, when he's hypnotized by Kim Novak and just driving around San Francisco, and he's got the green sweater and the color is really good, and you hear Bernard Herrmann's soundtrack.
Oh,
I'm just going to get lost as he drives around San Francisco.
Oh,
but eventually there is a story there, but it's not as tight as some of the other stories, obviously.
Yeah.
I also I don't know if you've seen Strangers on a Train, but
love that.
Robert Walker, he was.
Yeah.
There's the old man. That's father when he sees the painting, he hated I love that he hated his dad and everything.
Yep. That was great.
Couple movies here. Top Gun, never seen either of them.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that about you.
Yeah. I'm in my own little cocoon over here.
I wouldn't recommend that you watch them. I personally, I liked the first Top Gun. Like, I remember I was 13 when it came out, and so it was right in my kind of wheelhouse there. I liked it, and I loved the sequel. I loved the sequel more by far than the original. But I think a lot of that had to do with, as a nation, we're coming out of COVID, and here's Tom Cruise single-handedly putting the movie industry on his back. And like it was the whole movie was almost as much about that for me as the story.
I've never seen The Matrix or Iron Man.
Okay. The Matrix, I actually think you would like.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I'm going out on a limb because it deals with some pretty deep, profound theories that I think you would like. Iron Man. Iron Man's fine. You don't need to see that. I mean, Downey's great. He's charming.
Right.
It resurrected his career. It ended up making Hollywood billions and billions of dollars. But I think if you're going to even dip your toe into any of those Marvel movies, for you, I would go Doctor Strange, because you get Benedict Cumberbatch. I know you like the English actors. He's very good. It's self-contained.
And finally, I've never seen a sitcom. Please don't pass too much judgment on me. I've never seen Martin. I just love making you guys laugh. I knew it. Oh my God. They used to have, they'd have back in the day, like 20 years ago, they do NBA players, their bios. Favorite TV show, Martin.
Everyone was Martin.
But you know what their favorite movie was, which is still, Scarface, which I do like. I like Scarface.
Me too. Scarface is like a wonderfully overly dramatic opera. It's great.
Okay, I'm going to finish with this. I know you've got a lot of things going on. I've got to prepare for my big trip up to beautiful Carmel.
Oh, is that the one by the sea?
Carmel by the Sea.
Okay, good.
Oh, you meant the one in Carmel, Indiana?
Yeah, I didn't know which one. You have to specify.
Yeah, we rotate each year. So I'm going to ask you another movie question.
Yeah.
Just to see if you have strong feelings. I don't think you will have strong feelings, but so you have these 3 movies franchises that I watch all 3, and I want to know if you have a favorite of the 3.
Okay.
So you have Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, you have Daniel Craig, Bond, and you have Matt Damon, Jason Bourne. Ooh. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's tough. My instant reaction to that is the Bourne movies, the Matt Damon Bourne movies. But I will say all those franchises you named, I really like. I feel like Mission Impossible took a while to round into form, where 1 is pretty good, 2 and 3 I thought were garbage, and then it starts really picking up.
Rogue Nation was pretty amazing. The intro where he's running on the plane, and obviously the theme song takes it. The theme song is the superior theme song of all 3. the Mission Impossible
Well,
theme.
Bourne has none, but no. But how
It
can
has a little something. It has a little sound. You know, it's a little weird sound at the end and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's controversial, by the way, saying the Mission Impossible theme is better than the Bond theme.
I think it's better. It's more dynamic.
But then Bond also gives you that double punch with the Bond theme and the intro song, which they always
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's tough.
Adele,
Skyfall.
Javier Bardem.
That might be the best Bond movie of all time.
I do know people who say that, and I think it's Javier Bardem when he takes out his tooth and his face shrivels up.
Awesome.
You're so much smaller than, I forgot how small you were. When
Yeah.
Judi Dench walks in and Javier Bardem sees. That's a great one. So I love Daniel Craig, but I wanted to tell you something. I think the Bond is better than the Mission Impossible. And I eschewed the Bourne series for a while. I'm not sure why. It didn't have a sense of humor. So obviously there's some cheeky jokes in both of the Mission Impossible and Bond, but now I'm addicted to the Bourne series where I can watch it over and over again. And I love the scenes away from Bourne sometimes when Brian Cox is being evil and Pamela Landy is being a good person and Pam, you look tired, and she looks back, and I just, Pam, you look tired. Or Jason, what's his name? Jason Strayhorn's name? Not Jason Strayhorn.
David Strathairn.
Yes. How do you pronounce his last name?
Strathairn.
Strathairn. Yeah. Well, we'd be having the meeting in your office right now. We'd be face to face. You know, that kind of stuff is great.
I love that. I was blown away by the original Bourne movie, The Bourne Identity. And it has something that I've identified that I love in movies when it happens, which is somebody has a superpower that they didn't know they had. And so there's that scene when he's like sitting on a park bench, and the cops come over and start to harass him, and they stick a baton in his ribs, and he grabs it, and he just understands. And within 2 seconds, he's disarmed them, and he's out of there. I'm like, I love that. Love that. We
should point out to the listeners and the viewers that Alec Sulkin's favorite movie of all time is Taken.
No, don't say that. I like Taken, but I'm not. He had the top 100.
I'm kidding, but you like the special power. He has some special skills.
He does. He has a special set of skills. That's true. But he comes out and tells you. Whereas I like it when it's revealed.
Oh, I see. I see. He just discovers it. I see. Yeah. That he's a great fighter. I used to do at some point. I used to do a. Did I ever tell you that I used to do an impression of Albert Finney?
Oh, I love that. In the Bourne movies or something else?
David Webb, you're Jason Bourne. You chose us.
That's me doing. That's me doing Albert Finney.
You're no longer David Webb. You're Jason Bourne. You chose us.
That is great.
I think his voice is so dynamic in
By
that.
the way, we could go back and forth, not on that, but we could almost do that whole movie because I do a Brian Cox impersonation from that movie. Where if you notice something about Brian Cox, he flattens his A's, so he'll say like Pam, he'll be like, "Hey, Pam, you think you know about Jason Bourne because you read it in a file? This is above your pay grade, Pam."
I love that. I love him. I mean, that's good, Pam. Oh man, Pam. Yeah. He and his face, the way he looks. So I watched a little bit of Succession. Did you watch that religiously?
I loved that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Because the children were dim-witted or not talented. Or
you don't like dim-witted characters. But here's the thing: it's like they're just smart enough to be tragic. Because if they were dim-witted like a Forrest Gump or something, you'd just, you'd feel a certain way. But they're, in fact, Kieran Culkin, he's very sharp.
Right.
And I think you give that show a full ride. I mean, it's
how do you compare it to Billions?
I loved Billions. I never watched the final couple of seasons. They kept coming out and I sort of fell off the train. But the first 3 seasons of Billions, I loved it. I felt like Succession, Billions walked so that Succession could run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got tired. I watched Billions. I thought Damian Lewis, because I had never seen him before. I didn't see him in A Band of Brothers or whatever the hell he was in.
That's it.
He was in. I think he played Steve McQueen in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He did.
But yeah, but he's brilliant, and I'm a Giamatti fan from Sideways. But yeah, Brian Cox blows me away. I mean, some of these guys blow me away. You know.
Well, if Brian Cox blows you away, you gotta jump in with both feet. Succession.
Yeah, I've seen some of it when he's peeing. I've seen some. I'll continue with it. I just
continue.
Have to. It's just that it's. I feel like it's Adam McKay snickering at the family, the Murdochs. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it is.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's also in its own right great.
Right.
Yeah.
What a joy. Good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're doing well. I like the resourcefulness of grabbing your phone 20 minutes later.
I knew that was going to come up. Well, because it kept tempting me on the computer. Like it kept saying, "Oh, you're back." And I could hear you, and then it would disappear again. So.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, brother. That was fun.
So fun. Thanks for having me at last.
Yes. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. That's Alec Sulkin from Family Guy and the Ted movies. My name's Craig Kilborn. We'll see you next time. Remember, young people, I'm proud of you.